Hello and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and I kind of wish I had started recording earlier because we have already had an amazing conversation. Unfortunately, it was just for us. Sorry, listeners, but I'm sure we're going to get into some really great topics with my current guest, who's been on the podcast before. I'm so excited to have him back. We have plenty of comics related stuff to talk about, and I'm sure we'll find some other interesting topics along the way. But please welcome to the podcast, Alex Paknadel. Alex, how are you doing today?
Well enough. Thanks ever so much, Jimmy. Yeah, no, it's been a minute. I think we're both slightly grayer, slightly more distinguished. But yeah, no, it's lovely to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming back. I've been, following along, um, all the stuff that you've been working on since you were last on the podcast, which I was going to look up real quick because I can't remember. I know it's
Was it
been a while,
2024?
but yeah, October of 2024, you were
Hey,
on uh, talking about Sentinels, and then you were on in November of 22 to talk All Against All. So this is your third appearance on the podcast, and yeah, so you've been because famously I say on the podcast that I don't read a lot of Marvel comics, and again, I say it's nothing. I have nothing against Marvel. It's just as a kid I was kind of a DC person. When I got back into comics like 12 or 13 years ago, it was because of DC Comics, and um, I've never really gotten. I don't have the knowledge of Marvel comics like I do of DC, so I have a tendency to only read Marvel comics if it's like a writer or artist that I really like, or last year I did like Marvel March where I had writers on that were specifically working on Marvel titles, so it forced me. But it was great because turns out I love the Fantastic Four, and I had not really read Fantastic Four comics until I read Ryan North's Fantastic Four, and they were incredible. And so, but you're one of the other forces because I'm such a fan of your work that I have now read Sentinels and read Carnage, and and yeah, now I am now following along. I have and reading Cyclops, and which is what I wanted to kind of start talking about. I have my issues here. So unfortunately, podcast listeners, you can't see this, but if we throw this on YouTube, our YouTube viewers will be able to see that I got two covers of issue one, and I just picked up issue two.
amazing.
I'm
Thank you.
all Oh yeah, absolutely. But I got one for Bobby because Bobby is a big Marvel fan and Bobby loves Cyclops. So I thought he would like I think the variant cover is Clayton Crane. So I got that one for Bobby. We do a shout out to Bobby every episode. He's the Cryptic Creator Corner's number one most dedicated fan. And we also share a
Hi,
pull
Bobby.
list at the comic book shop. He loves that. He loves when people say hi to him. So thank you, Alex. But yeah, so I've been getting more into Marvel, especially the stuff that you have been working on the past few years. And I know you've been working on some other things, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and some other comics. But I kind of wanted to start with your Marvel work and start with Cyclops issues one and two are already out. So could you just tell listeners a little bit about I guess your current run for Cyclops?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, my Cyclops run, which is going to be 5 issues, is sort of by design, a sort of self-contained story, which hopefully, you'll be able to pick up off the shelf in about 10 years and still have it, resonate and make sense. It takes place within current continuity, but it's not sort of beholden to it, if that makes sense. So the idea is basically it's quite simple. It's Scott Summers is on his way back to the X-Men's base, which is in Alaska, and gets um, shot down over the Canadian wilderness, the Rockies of British Columbia, and finds himself slap bang in the middle of a sort of manhunt, which is being conducted by the Reavers, who are sort of the X Men's, sort of long-standing cyborg enemies. It's a new generation of Reavers. They're pretty gross. These ones, unlike earlier kind of iterations, they can kind of cannibalize each other for parts. So there's this weird sort of competition between them all. and they're all like real dirtbags, not pleasant to be around at all. But the sort of the hook, I guess, is that even though Scott Summers, Cyclops, has come down in this forest, his visor has been shattered. So he is basically making his way across inhospitable terrain with a sort of young mutant companion, and he's having to do the whole thing blindfold. Now, you would think that without the sort of aid of his optic blast, that he would be pretty useless. Um, but turns out, yeah, he's a pretty resourceful guy, and yeah, things get quite brutal quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, so I read the first 2 issues that are out so far, um, and one of the reasons I like doing this, especially to kinda cover stuff that I'm not well versed in or super familiar with, is because I do think it's helpful if you are somebody from the outside looking in, and
Mm.
I think one of the issues for me is, like, sometimes Marvel continuity unfortunately seems like impenetrable. Like, because I'm not that well versed in it, and I just like, do I? How much am I going to need to know to get like into this series? Like, am I going to have to go back and read a ton of stuff if I just think the cover of the Cyclops issue looks cool? And I found myself, I was like in it like right away. There was a, enough in the very first few pages that I kind of understood basically what was going on. Um, I loved kind of the opening of issue 1 where Cyclops has to kinda come to the rescue of, a few other of the X-Men, and then once we get to the point where Cyclops is kind of, stranded in the jungle, um, I thought it was great. The artist whose work, again, I'm not really familiar with, but Rogê Antonio,
Mhm.
just phenomenal. And you have, I mean, just the action is so fantastic, and I really kind of liked getting into the character of Scott. For like my first Cyclops standalone series, I can't wait. Like I just thought it really moved, and kind of seeing the leader of the X-Men kind of be on his own and having his most powerful weapon taken away. Like I love kind of stories like that. I thought the first 2 issues just played out great. And also the Reavers have wonderful names that I really, really like.
I agonized over them, you know what I mean? It's like in this, like, I did that with Sentinels as well, like, it was just kinda coming up with, and the thing is, I mean, not to give too much away, but, like, I like, uh, there's a couple of them are maybe, shall we say, expendable. So, like, I'm throwing some super good names kind of, like, up against the wall and, who knows if you'll see them again. Hopefully, you will. But yeah, no, like I put a lot of thought into that. I appreciate everything you said. Um, yeah, I mean, the idea was that it was going to be very kind of self-contained, which again is not to say that it doesn't sort of reflect the changes in the wider line. I mean, Jed MacKay, who's currently writing like adjectiveless X-Men, was a huge help throughout all of this. I was kind of, because he's kind of currently Scott's, uh, you know, uh, steward, caretaker, as it were. And I very much felt like I was kind of borrowing him from Jed. So I was kind of running everything past Jed, and Jed was kind of extremely generous with stuff like I mean, just saying to him like can I have can you give Scott a Quinjet that I can then trash? And he was like, yep, cool, no problem. There's another one. So he was really really generous, and yeah, just kind of wanted to tell a story that was really stripped down, um and because normally the stuff that I do I think is quite baroque, and I tend to work with I mean, I sort of jokingly sometimes I say like I work with sort of £10 a plot in a £5 bag. I think that's kind of fair to say on occasion. I'm not ashamed of it, but like I really wanted to decompress, I think, on this occasion, and just write something that was a lot more kind of lean. Because, I mean, the way I've sort of articulated it is, as I've said, it's a survival horror that just happens to sort of star Scott Summers, right? And like I love survival horror, like I love like Deliverance, I love The Grey, The Edge, you know, the movies like that, you know, sort of
Yeah,
The Descent, you know, like human beings like lost in the wilderness, you know, struggling to survive on the basis of their wits. Like I love all that stuff. So I just wanted to do one
yeah,
of those. And the way I kind of pitched it almost like in the room, as it were, because this wasn't an idea that Marvel came to me with. It's an idea that I came to Marvel with. What I said was like I wanted to do basically a typical Wolverine story, but use Cyclops instead because it opens up like a host of kind of narrative possibilities, right? If you saw a Wolverine miniseries that was basically just ported over this plot, I think it would
yeah,
be fairly unremarkable. It's kind of those are the sort of narrative expectations that you have of Wolverine, right? Like at some point he's going to be lost in a forest and he's going to be thrown back on his
right.
own resources and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I
if
mean,
you
his
did
name really lends itself to that, you know, and
100%,
like the
right?
character, you know, you would expect that. So,
But, like,
yeah.
but if you do this, with the guy who has, like, a hydrogen bomb in his head, if you do this with, like, you know, like, stereotypically the X-Men's, like, control freak, you get some really interesting kinda character beats that just, like, immediately make themselves available to you. So that was kind of my into the whole thing.
Yeah. That's interesting that you kind of, you know, pitch this to them because I know sometimes the way, you know, Marvel works is they'll have like an idea and they'll want to find like the right creative team for it and basically, hey, here's the brief, here's what we want to do. You know, can you fit something in this? But I love that you kind of had the idea to take what you would think of as a typical Wolverine story and then put Cyclops in it. Because I agree, yeah, knowing that what I know in terms of the differences of the two characters, it does open up a lot of different possibilities and a lot of more interesting ways the story, you know, the story can go. And especially kind of taking the his visor, you know, because away from him at one point is very interesting as well in terms of what else does he have to rely on. And I think also Scott
It's just
being
loss of
paired with
control, like,
somebody
you know what I
else.
mean? Like, that you
Yeah.
know, it's almost like it's the perfect metaphor, right? Like, it's, you know,
Mhm.
your control has been taken away from you now. And, you know, who are you without that? And that's not something that we kinda get to see very often. But, I mean, in terms of the kind of the sort of the getting across the line of it all, I mean, I was really kind of taken aback by how receptive they were to it. Like, I remember, like, I was I was literally like it was an idea that I had, like, percolating away for quite a while, and I was kind of telling, I was walking I know exactly where I was. I was walking through Central Park with Matthew Rosenberg, and
Okay.
I was kinda telling him this idea, and he said, "Well, like, you gotta pitch it." And I said, "No, look, I'm not there, you know, I've done Sentinels, I've done some kind of bits and bobs, but, you know, I don't feel kinda confident enough to just sort of come to them with an idea, like, I wait to be approached." And he just basically said, like, "Yeah, if you don't pitch this, like, I'm never gonna talk to you again." And so, like, yeah, I emailed Darren, my editor, who was, like, weirdly receptive to it. But yeah, I mean, like, it's I'd been working, with them, I think, at that point, like, 8 or 9 months, and I think there was sort of, like, enough trust in the tank that they sorta let me do it. So, I mean, the long and the short of it is, like, everyone has to buy it because then they'll never trust me again if you don't. So,
Right.
please
Right.
read it.
Well, I did see that issue 1 got, I think a second printing, at least
Yeah.
at least a second printing. I don't know if there'll be more, but that's a good sign, you know?
Oh,
So,
no, like, it went,
it's doing well, I
it
think.
it did yeah, it did super well. I think it kind of it exceeded their internal expectations, like, by quite a margin. So no, like, you know, couldn't you know, I couldn't be happier. People seem to really respond to it. People seem to like it. People seem to be ready for a take like this. No, no, I mean, it was great. I was really kind of humbled and sort of taken aback. And then, like, when it dropped, like, I was just on like, I was heading out on vacation to kind of Tenerife, and just ended up being like a really bad, like, dad and husband because I'm kind of doing that thing of just like, how's it doing today? You know what I mean? Like, get off the phone. All right, all right, all right.
Yeah. No, I understand, but that's that's the like the economic reality, because since I started covering comics, there's always the conversation of, well, how do you break into comics? And then once you've broken into comics in some fashion, how do you write for the big two? Like how do you get to that point where you're doing something along those lines? And part of the issue is though, even once you get a chance to write something, like if you're invited in on one of those anthologies to just do a short story or like a backup issue in something, how do you get like to that next step and that next stage? And part of it is, well, also the books they have to do well because it's a business, and it's not just they want it to sell well, and that's another piece of it in order to take that next step and to do something else with them. But I mean, I really feel you like your progression, because I've read everything now that I think almost everything you've done for Marvel. Um, it is kind of interesting to see like your work and look at the work that you've done for like creator owned stuff, and then the work that you've done for Marvel. So one of the things I was interested in, like, how do you feel in terms of your voice as a writer for your creator owned stuff and like capturing that within the Marvel characters? Is that something that you find comes naturally, or do you ever struggle with that a bit with working uh like within Marvel?
I mean, candidly, yeah, because but, not to the point where it's kind of debilitating in any way, but it's more, okay, so if I'm working with my own characters, if I'm working with, my own kind of I hate this word, but like properties or whatever, but,
Yeah.
if I'm doing that, then there aren't really any sacred cows. So, if it's my character, I can pretty much do whatever I want. And one of the sort of I try not to be too beholden to sort of storytelling rules, I guess. Not which is not to say that I think I'm not being like an edge lord. It's just, I think rules are kind of useful to a point, right? But you also have to kind of
Sure.
be free to kind of improvise within that. But
Yeah.
one of the sort of things that I do believe that drama comes from conflict, right? So like Stephen King has this, he's got this phenomenal book called On Writing, and at some point in that, he says, stories are take any story, and what you're basically doing is you're making someone care about a character, and then you're chasing them up a tree, and then you're throwing rocks at them, right? That's all really a story is, right?
Sure.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
here's someone you care about, and now I'm going to be mean to them.
Yeah.
And the story and how they overcome that is how they resolve the being mean to them, right? Um, and but when you're dealing with and when those are your own characters, that's fine. I will torture, maim, mutilate, do whatever I need to do in order to kind of wring every drop of empathy that I possibly can out of that narrative situation. When you're dealing uh, with company characters, like I still do that, but sometimes I'm surprised by the reaction, right? So it's the whole thing of like, you know, every Spider-Man story I love, like Peter Parker goes through some stuff. You know what I mean? Like he goes
Sure.
through some stuff.
Yeah.
And like I think that's like Spider-Man at his very best, right? Spider-Man at his very best is Peter Parker has 30 tons of wrought iron on top of him, and through the course of an issue has to like push it away, right? That's a classic Spider-Man story. Um, but there are, and they're not wrong, by the way. But there are people out there who month in, month out are checking in on their friend Peter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
depending on the scenario, like you've been mean to their friend, and they're not wrong. Um, I think both perspectives are like equally valid because people read comics for different reasons. Um, and sometimes you can make a perfect you can make a perfectly good faith kind of creative decision, and then you'll realize like, oh, like I've bummed someone out, and that sucks. So I like that really I would say is like it's the only difference, right? Is you on the one hand when and I think a lot of it is about the capacity for change as well. So like there's an implied understanding with sort of corporate comics or mainstream comics, whatever you want to call it, that you're
Yeah.
kind of going to put the furniture back the way you found it at the end, right? It's almost like soap
Okay.
opera. In every soap opera, right? You go around the dial and basically you have to, you kind of like set fire to the pub at the end of it, right? Like everything has to be
Right.
intact.
The pub needs to be there in the next episode.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a rental car. You know what I mean? Like you got to give it back the way you found it, right? And
Exactly.
that's the big difference, I would say. You can still
Okay.
take risks. You can still take risks. You can still do all kinds of interesting things. And I've found like at both DC and Marvel that like editorial are very receptive to like big swings. But like whatever you do at the end of that, as you say, you know what I mean? Like you are not the owner of these characters, you are the steward. And so you leave the place as you found it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You make the bed, you leave the key on the side, and you leave.
No, I understand. I was just curious about that. Well, speaking of like fan reaction to things or, folks being upset if you have to do mean things to the characters they love, what's your like, you know, convention experience like in the past, year or so? Like, have you been getting out to going to things and how has the reaction been from fans?
Um, I haven't I've only been to a couple, honestly. Like I went to Thor Bubble, but I didn't table. I just went as like a punter, because one thing I find, particularly with Thought Bubble, where people are selling really interesting comics, is like if I'm behind my table the whole time, I miss all the cool comics because by the time I actually get a minute to go and go shopping, like they've sold out. So I just went as like a customer. It was great. Um,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm like yeah, like I'm a terrible kind of convention attendee, really, because like I don't make any money because I just spend it all on comics. Um, you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah,
it's a completely
that's
closed system.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but no, I mean, like I've only been to one show since Cyclops dropped, and
Okay.
that was in Scotland, and that was really nice. Like I had an like and I had. I mean, one thing I've noticed as well, I think, particularly since like the Ultimate Universe and the Absolute stuff has been going, is like there's a much younger demographic coming into the medium, which can
Yeah,
only be good. And they were kind of, they wanted to kind of, and like they were asking like real kind of craft questions. And I was, I hope I was kind of happy to oblige. But yeah, no, I mean, in the main, I've found people have been sort of very kind, but I will also freely own like I haven't been as kind of active on the convention circuit as I should have, mainly because like I would have no money.
yeah. No, I totally understand that. This is the first year that I've never been to New York Comic Con, and I'm thinking about going this year. Not just as like a fan to like
Can I
walk
crash on
around
your
and check
floor?
stuff out. Oh, sure,
Thanks,
sure,
man. Like that'd be
yeah.
that'd be a real help.
Yeah, just I'll once I confirm what I'm doing, where I'm staying, I'll let you know.
Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. But I've never been before, and I'm really excited about going. Um, and uh, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like I go to Baltimore every year, and I have like a very like defined budget in terms of buying because I'm supposed to be going for like press for Comic Book Yeti to talk to creators and to talk to people, and like my brother goes with me, and then we do an episode both before and after. Like, what are we excited to do? Who are we excited to see? And then we'll do a post one. But yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm like concerned about my budget going to New York Comic Con because it just seems like it's such a like a much bigger show, and it just seems like there's going to be a lot of cool people there. And yeah, again, cool comics. I'm the exact same way. I think if I ever tabled somewhere, I would have to have clearly defined times as to when I had to be at my table, and two, I would really have to watch how much I spent.
I mean, like, Thought
But yeah,
Bubble Thought Bubble's a really interesting show because it's very kind of comics focused, like, there's very little other than comics, and the kind of the running
yeah.
joke is that don't get me wrong, like, currency, like, cash money is there as a kind of proxy, but really it's a barter economy. Because what's really
Okay.
happening is basically like someone comes up to your table and kind of goes, I'm going to buy your comic. And you go, they're cool. And then you go to their table and buy their comic. And for all intents and purposes, yeah, money is changing hands, but you're effectively just swapping comics. You know what I mean? Like you go back,
Yeah.
yep, net zero. Oh, hello.
Oh, th
Hi.
there's Penny.
Hi.
Penny's hanging out. Yeah. Penny, say hi to Alex. I think the first time Alex was on, Penny, you popped up in the back of the screen, which would have been you were probably 4 years old because that might have been
Wow.
4 years ago. And say
You're aging
hi.
better than I am. Hi. Nice to see you again.
He says, "Nice to see you again." You can't hear him because I have my headphones on.
Oh, sorry.
Um, no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. Well, Penny's gonna get her first taste of tabling because we are doing a signing at my local shop, I think on May 2nd for my paper cuts, my first graphic novel, Penny and the Yeti, which is coming out April 21st. So yeah, so Penny's gonna go with me to our first signing. So she'll at 8 years old, she'll she'll get feet first into what it's like hanging out all day at a comic book shop, and hopefully people show up to buy your book.
That's crazy. What's your shop?
My shop it's just called the Comic Book Shop in Wilmington, Delaware. It's
Yeah.
right down the street from my house, and yeah, I think we're working out the details right now, but I think Saturday, May 2nd, we're maybe going to do a signing at the shop for Penny and the Yeti,
Congratulations, man!
which
Because
is
like,
out.
I remember, like, last time we were
Thank you.
talking, like, like, that was
Yeah,
that was something that was, like, in the hopper, you know what I
yeah, and
mean? But,
now
like,
it's
now
yeah,
here it is. That's
now
great.
here it is. Here it is. I'm super excited about it. It was, yeah, I've been like doing other podcasts and YouTube shows and whatever, trying to promote it and trying to figure out the best way to, because everyone I know is like in indie comics, and sometimes indie stuff doesn't, it's tough in terms of like all ages to try and figure out how to promote that. So I have a couple of talks scheduled at like Penny's school and a couple other area schools. There's
Have you
a
considered, like,
children's
a
books.
wing walk?
What is that?
You know, when, like, you strap yourself to, like, a biplane
Oh,
and do, like, a loop
I,
yeah,
I,
just
I,
I'm I'm
I
just
will look
trying it
into
out,
that.
though.
No, there is a local airport here in Newcastle. So maybe I can see if that's something they will do in order to, figure out the best way to advertise. But that's an idea. I'll add that to the list of things I would consider doing. But yeah, it's interesting. I have a newfound respect for people that come on my podcast having to do other shows, and um just trying not to say the same answers all the time, trying to come up with other different interesting things to say. And then also like it's impacted, trying to talk about other stuff than the same thing the person has talked about, like on, other ways to promote it. Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of experience. But
I always feel like
but yeah.
I managed to do that by just, like, going off piste, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, the whole time.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll go on a different podcast and then, like, invariably, the conversation will kind of, yeah, there'll be, like, a quarter of an hour on, like, provolone.
Right. Yeah, which no problem. Well, I was thinking, if I do go to New York, like, if you come over here, if you're going to New York, we can just stay in Delaware, and we'll just drive up, and we'll do an East Coast food tour. Me and you, we'll get
Are
we'll
you
we'll hit
funning me
Philly
right
for
now? Because I will do this, Jimmy.
we'll get we'll get burgers. We'll get cheesesteaks. We'll stop in Jersey for some. There's some specific, uh, Jersey specific sandwiches. I don't know if you've ever been involved. If you, I don't. Do you eat pork or no?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because there's the in Jersey there's a big debate as to whether or not they call it pork roll or Taylor ham, which is kind of like a Canadian bacon. New Jersey people, don't get mad at me. I'm just trying to describe what it is if Alex doesn't know. But there's like a great
You've
place
got
in
Condon on,
Jersey.
right? Like, pretty soon?
Yeah, I just
Ask
had
ask
him. I
wait,
just had
ask
I just
Condon.
had him on. He's in Jersey. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
man. So, yeah,
yeah,
okay. But Condon can tell you, like,
but
he's a Jersey guy.
yeah, he is. He's yeah, he is. But yeah, there's a great sandwich that a couple places do with pork roll or Taylor ham, whatever you want to call it, which is like phenomenal. Um, yeah, so would that be great? Just hit all the cheesesteak places on our way up to New York.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, there was, I went to, like, was it a deli in Chicago a few years ago? Because like, we have, like, knockoff versions of, like, your amazing sandwiches, like, over here, but, like, if I order, like, a Reuben in London, like, I'll get, like, a solitary slice of, like, sad corned beef, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And, like,
Yeah.
sauerkraut that, like, pulls your gums back over your teeth. It's no good. But I genuinely like, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but not so ashamed that I won't say it. Like, I did genuinely like, I went for a Reuben in at this deli in Chicago, and, like, hand to God, like, I did, like, the kind of, like, the single tier, you know what I mean? Like, it was so good, there was, like, the single tier. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, look, if you're genuinely suggesting, like, a sort of culinary odyssey, like, I'm so down you wouldn't believe it. But also, like,
Yeah.
we can do a show if you want. Like, you know what I mean? We can do New York Comic Con if you
Right,
want,
right.
but
And
or
you
we can just, like,
and
carry on up to
yeah.
Montreal. Like, I'm fine.
Okay. Um, yeah, because there's a couple of, I mean, Philly is, known for cheesesteaks. Philly has like I mean, I'm from right outside of Philly in Delco, Delaware County, and now I'm in Delaware, and I think Philly has like an like an underrated food scene. There's plenty of other places in the US that people think of for Philadelphia for great food other than Philly. But Philly has an amazing food scene, and in the past like 10, 20 years, it's only gotten better. Um, it's not just cheesesteaks, although they do have some, I love a good cheesesteak, but, there's so many other amazing places in Philly, and there's certain areas of Philly, like, some things that folks might not think about, but along Washington Street, there's a ton of Vietnamese restaurants, and there's just some
Oh,
amazing
just
Vietnamese
yeah.
food in Philly. Just, like, absolutely incredible stuff.
May I ask,
Also, I'm
sorry,
a big
is like, may I ask, do you have any more children in the room?
there's no kids. Penny left, so you're
Yeah,
she
there
went back
is,
upstairs.
right? There is a restaurant in Manchester, and Mancunians, have, like, a good sense of humor, and
Okay.
a pretty coarse sense of humor. It's the north of England, it's where I'm from. Um, and, there is a restaurant in, Manchester's northern quarter, called Pho, right? Pho, right? And, Fur Q, as in Q-U-E, Fur Q, and,
Yeah.
you have to know how to pronounce it in order to get it. So it's like, "Oh,
Okay.
yeah, well, we'll go to, like, Faux Q." Yeah, like, that's
Yeah.
and you go, "Yeah, it's not it's cool, my friend."
Um, yeah. But, yeah, I'm really lucky there's a great, because we were talking about burgers before we started recording. I was talking about the Delaware Burger Battle that Bobby and I go on, but there's a great burger place right around the corner from me called Wild Witch, and their burgers are it's just in a little strip mall. There's like 3 little stores, and, there's like an ice cream shop, Wild Witch, and then I think there's a place that, like, will do your taxes, like, but it's just
Well,
like a
like, it's a
mom and
full
pop
service
one.
operation is what you're saying.
But
Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's
right,
like
you
that's
get everything done
everything you
there.
need.
But the Wild Witch burgers are phenomenal. It's just an unbelievably delicious burger. And then they do have like fancy stuff, like in terms of different styles. Like if you want, like a barbecue and this, they have interesting names for all of it. But the burgers are just incredible, amazing fries, and yeah. But there's a couple places in Philly that do uh, just some phenomenal food. And then on the way up, uh, uh, you know, through Jersey and then into New York. But I don't know, I'm kinda serious, Alex. Like this the more I'm talking about it, the more excited I am. I have there's another thing I have to know. Where do you stand on hot dogs? Are you a hot dog person or no?
Uh, Here's a tricky one. Um, and, like, obviously, like, ultimately, this is a promotional exercise,
Sure.
as pleasant as it is to kinda spend time with you, but, I'm trying to kinda promote a book. I don't wanna alienate anyone. Um,
Okay. That's fair.
but in terms of, like, which city does the best one, I gotta be honest, man, like, I'm ambivalent, you know what I mean? Like, I've had some phenomenal dogs in New York, I've had phenomenal dogs in Chicago. I don't really know where I kinda sit on the kinda ketchup mustard divide
Okay.
or even the pickle
Okay.
divide, you know what I mean? Like, I like like, I've had some yeah, like, I've had some very special experiences. I do have an opinion on pizza, but I'm not gonna share that because 'cause I'll get in a lot of trouble.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
not
okay. Well, I don't
Detroit.
want you to get into you're right. You're right. I look, I I don't have any strong opinions about pizza. I love all pizza. I'm essentially a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
This is the
Uh,
thing, right? Like, it's like,
right?
surely again, like, as we were discussing earlier on, like, it's a question of care, right? If you care,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter where it's from, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
special pie, right?
Yeah. But I'll eat. I don't have any very strong opinions about like pizza. I'll eat. I'll eat whatever. Again, but to segue into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which you've
Comics,
also
sure.
written
Yeah,
recently.
yeah,
Yes,
comics, yeah,
right back to comics. Because you have been doing the Casey Jones series for IDW, and I
yeah,
think issue number 6 is coming out like in a week as we record this, right?
imminently, yeah, it's all drawing to a close, which means the only therapy I've ever been paid for. Uh, genuine like, writing that book was such fun, and it was just, um you know, I will normally, if I'm doing kind of licensed work, I mean, I did like Cult of the Lamb recently, right? Based on the video game and everything. And
Yeah.
my only way into it was to do kind of really like, I don't want to say elevated because it's like pretentious as hell, but like I tried to do like a sort of nuanced take that had like a grounding in like actual sort of scapegoating, and I was reading all this kind of like social theory and stuff. And like I really kind of went to town on it. And like the brief that I was given, like I tried to start doing that with kind of Casey, and I was just getting notes back, and they were lovely notes, by the way. And I was working with like some friends of mine, Dave Wheelgosh and Andy Curry, and the notes that I was getting back when I was sort of first kind of trying to kind of pitch the thing were very much on the order of like, and by the way, like these are fantastic kind of creatives, like in their own right, but they were very much on the order of like, have you considered having him like kick someone's skull in? I'm like, oh, oh, you mean like have fun? All right. And like to get that kind of permission structure where I can just basically just like have a blast Yeah, like I said, it was like therapy, and I was getting paid for it. I'm so bummed it's over.
Yeah. Um,
Now I have to, like, I don't know, try and do sit-ups or something.
yeah, I don't know if you have that far. Just maybe take a nice long walk on a nice day, something. Get some air, get some fresh air.
Look, like,
Um,
we're gentlemen of a certain age, as we were discussing earlier on, and I think we
yeah,
both agreed that,
yeah.
like, movement in general is extremely dangerous and
It
should
is.
not be
It is.
attempted without adult supervision.
Yes, I know. I definitely need to be supervised
Yeah.
after we were talking about it 2 weeks ago. I tore my right
Are
calf
you in bed?
muscle.
Okay, you're safe. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do all these from now on from just lying in bed. Actually, I do them from the couch in my basement, so I can just turn
Don't turn.
and just
Don't
lie
never
down.
attempt to turn.
It's a very slow process. It's okay.
How
I
did you
think
throw
I'll
your back out?
I
Oh, doing my
think I'll
shoelaces.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, me sitting at a doctor's office. So how did you injure yourself, during a podcast? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really wanna get into it, but
I moved my eyes too quickly.
Yep. Yeah. I actually can't move my eyes too quickly. I sometimes get vertigo. That's not a bit. That's real, and yeah,
Now I feel
it's
bad.
a getting getting older is
Sorry.
just the worst. Um, I tell everyone, my grandmother, may she rest in peace. She lived until she was 94. She was my biggest fan. And her name was Eunice. We called her Yoon, or I called her Yoon. Yoon was amazing. Um, but one of the things that I still remember she used to say as she got older and got aches and pains, she used to say that getting older isn't a sin, but it sure is inconvenient. And I just think of that literally all the time.
Yeah, I think, like, I had it described to me. God, this is its own kind of subject, isn't it? But someone said a while ago, like a friend of mine who's like in his 70s, who was my creative writing tutor, like back in the day, and he was just describing stuff. He said, like, there's this weird thing that happens, like when you're in your 20s, right? Um, when you hurt something, you hurt things in the expectation that they're not going to be hurt anymore in relatively short order. So, like, you hurt your knee in your 20s, and like within a couple weeks, like, that's there's your knee. But like, when you get past that, like when you hurt things, like that's your hurt knee now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you hurt your knee, and
Yes,
like now you
I
have a
do.
hurt knee,
Yes.
and that's just
Yes.
you. Like, you're the guy with the hurt knee. Like,
Yep. Yeah. No, I get it. Unfortunately, that
ridiculous state
makes
of affairs.
perfect sense. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, Alex, I mean, is Marvel keeping you pretty busy? And IDW is now wrapping up. Is there anything else you have on the horizon you want to talk about, or some things still under wraps?
Yeah, not that I can talk about. I do have
Okay.
upcoming. I know Marvel rather foolishly trusted me with a what if. They're doing a 50th anniversary celebration of the What If line, and I'm doing What If the Ultimate Universe survived Secret Wars. Um, So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, with that, being
Oh, that's awesome.
really mean to your faves. Uh, but it's okay because it's a what if.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's upcoming, and yeah, like everything else, yeah, like a shepherd's crook will presumably come in from sort of stage right and, like, yank me away. But
Yeah.
yeah, like there's
Or you ain't.
there's plenty of other stuff, but, like, I can't really talk about it yet, but yeah.
All right. That's fair. That's the nature of comics, but there's plenty of
Create our
stuff.
own thing coming up, which I'm very excited about. I'm looking forward to sort of
Oh,
unveiling that.
awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll put links in the show notes for folks to follow you on social media to check out your stuff. And also, I'm sure they're going to collect your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones. but you can jump on board. Cyclops issues 1 and 2 are out. And also, I'll give a plug for some of the things that first really made me a fan of Alex's writing. Not only All Against All, but even before that, with I think, gosh, was Friendo the first thing of yours that I read? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think Friendo was the first thing from Vault, but I loved All Against All was just one of my favorites. I tell everybody about it.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
man. It's yeah, I'm always there was uh like Dennis Camp is like a pretty good friend of mine, and
yeah,
I got because he like the first issue of like Assorted Crisis Events. Um, if you're reading through it, like there's just a sort of little interlude with this like a dumb movie, like a dumb action movie. And like he messaged
yeah,
me
yeah,
about
I've
it.
read it.
Yeah, like, it's called All Against All, and he was messaging me like he's like, like I wrote this like 4 years ago. Like I didn't I didn't know it was gonna be like the title of your book. And I was like, man, I'm kind of bummed that it wasn't. Like
Yeah,
I would have been
but
absolutely fine with that. Like
yeah, I did notice that, um, and I was like, "Oh, that's odd." But they, it
oh no,
didn't seem
like
like
he'll happily insult
they
me,
were
but like
shooting.
to my face, like a decent human being.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right. He
he's
won't
not
just throw some.
he's not underhanded. He'll be like, "You suck."
Right, he's not just gonna throw some shade
Yeah.
in a comic book, but, yeah, also, listeners, if you haven't read that, we'll plug Dennis Camp. Assorted Crisis Events is also
He doesn't need any
very, very
more
good.
plug-in. Come on, man.
Oh, okay,
He's
never mind, don't
he's
read it.
he's
Don't I take it back.
absolutely tearing it up, and
Just
deservedly
go.
so.
But yeah, Cyclops, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Casey Jones, Cult of the Lamb. Yeah.
And
But
like,
Alex,
screw it, Assorted Crisis Events. You should read Assorted Crisis Events.
okay,
It's
all
extremely
right, we're
and
back on. You can
Batman
read
Dark Patterns
Assorted
as
Crisis
well, which is
Events.
incredible.
There's so many good comics. It's just a wonderful time to be a fan um of comic books. But yeah,
And
Alex,
burgers.
thank you so much for for taking time on the on your Sunday to record this episode with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll put links in the show notes to everything. Listeners, if you're not reading Cyclops, you absolutely should, and take it from someone who is not well versed in what is going on in the Marvel universe. I found it very easy to get into. I'm captivated by the story. I can't wait to see what happens to Cyclops next. And if nothing else, you need to read it for the wonderful artwork by Rogê Antonio, and also to find out what all the Reavers' names are, because they're really great and they make me giggle. Uh, so, Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
All right, so listeners, rate, review us, do all the stuff they tell you to do. It really helps. Subscribe to the show. You can also subscribe on YouTube. We put these on YouTube, so if you want to see what we will look like, and that's a thing you can do. And we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.